theCUBE at EMC World 2014 is brought to you by EMC. Redefine. VCE. Innovating the world's first converged infrastructure solution for private cloud computing. Brocade. Say goodbye to the status quo and hello to Brocade.
Welcome back, Jeff Frick here on theCUBE. Day 3 from EMC World 2014. We launched theCUBE at EMC World 2010. This is our 5th year in a row coming back. We're so excited, we had such great demand that we have not one but 2 CUBEs, so we can get twice the number of guests on, bring you more insight, more of what's going on. And I'm joined in my next segment by CUBE alum, CUBE favorite, Bill Schmarzo, Dean of Big Data. I don't even know what his official title is. I'm sure it's up on the lower third. I've had Bill on a number of times, and Bill launched his book on theCUBE at Big Data NYC last year. But Bill spends more time on the road than most Accenture partners. I mean, the guy is always on the road, but the great thing is he's talking to customers. So Bill, welcome back to theCUBE.
Thanks, Jeff, thank you.
So what are you seeing out in the field in all your various travels?
So it's fun to be in the field talking to customers all the time, and there is increased belief that big data can actually change my business. The conversation is really starting to shift from one that's focused on technology being led by the CIO to a discussion that's being led by the business with the help of the CIO to focus on how do I use big data to transform my business? How do I use big data to make me more money sort of stuff?
I like that, how to make more money.
Yep.
So talk about, obviously it's a journey. Probably a lot of people don't even know where the data is, much less how to get it and work with it, bringing in third-party sources of data. So what are you seeing in terms of people having success? Where are they starting? Where's the low-hanging fruit? How should they proceed?
So, it's a great question, Jeff, because I think for most organizations, the low-hanging fruit starts with, what are my key business processes? And for many organizations, that is, their existing data warehouse and BI implementations are actually a really good starting point, because the BI and data warehouse stuff has defined your key business process. It has identified what metrics you're trying to measure, what data I'm using, it's built reports and dashboards, it's done some of the transformation work for you. So it's actually a really good starting point. And then we find that the low-hanging fruit for most organizations is their existing operational data. It's the dark data in the organization that they have purposefully never had access to. If you think about a data warehouse environment is really expensive. So what most organizations do is they actually minimize data, right? You don't put all the data in a data warehouse, you minimize it, right?
You don't want to buy more boxes, right?
You don't want to buy more boxes, and so you keep 13 months of aggregated, summarized data in your data warehouse when all the insights is in the 15 to 20 years of detailed customer transactions that you have, but probably have stuck on mag tape somewhere. It might as well be chiseled in stone to have it on mag tape.
So how are they, do they see enough value to one, collect more, and two, not summarize it as much, but keep it more in its raw form?
Yeah, so we have to take a lot of our customers through an envisioning process to get them to kind of slap them upside the head and say, okay, now take off those existing binders you have that said, oh, I can't have all the data, and we start running these envisioning exercises to help them understand, here's what you could do if you have all this data. Here are the kind of questions you could ask that you could even ask in the past, and here are the kind of answers you can get that are much more insightful and detailed than the ones you had before. When customers go through that, you can literally, in the process, you can see the light bulbs go off. People are going, wow, I didn't know I could do that. Well, if I can do that, can I do this too?
Right.
And when they start that what-ifing process, you know you've made that key leap.
So I wonder if you can share any specific examples that you've seen out there of customers and some of the initial successes that they've had.
Well, I tell you, my favorite one is this school district project we're doing in a very southern tip of Texas. And they want to create what they're calling Netflix for teachers. And what they want to do is the problem they have is that they have a real hard problem with teacher retention. It's in a very, it's way south in Texas, it's kind of an underprivileged area, and so teacher retention is a real issue, and they find that their teachers are spending between 45 to 90 minutes a day on administrative tasks, not teaching, but doing administrative tasks. So they want to build this thing they call Netflix for teachers, that when a teacher comes in the morning, they open up their tablet, it shows it, what students are struggling, it has recommendations as far as what lessons they should go through. It'll identify a student who's having behavioral problems who might need an intervention. It'll even help principals identify a teacher who's struggling, who may be teaching the wrong class or dealing with too many students. And so the idea is you deliver those recommendations, they can pick and choose the ones they want, and you take that administrative load down from 90 minutes down to 10 or 15 minutes and let them spend time teaching.
Now, is that in process, or has that been delivered, or what?
It's in process right now. So we've done the envisioning exercise.
Okay.
The one thing you probably get a kick out is our data science team was looking at all these different data sources. We had all this lesson data from all their lessons now are done on computers, so we can pull off all the logs and analyze things. We have their, of course, their test results. And one of the data scientists said, I wonder what if. I love that. What if? What if impact is on the price of a parent's home and the change in that price and the student's performance in class, right? If the housing value has gone up, do we see a corresponding change in the student's behavior? So we brought in Zillow data, right? Which not only tells you the price of a house, but in the monthly value it shows you the changes. And we're trying to correlate, is there a change in that or not? Now we haven't found anything yet, but I love that kind of thinking that says, what if? Let's try this data. Let's grab it, drop it in here, play with it. Found nothing? Okay. Found nothing, move on to the next one. I love that kind of exploration attitude.
And you went through a whole bunch of things that you're looking at. Were most of those data sets already someplace, they just weren't tapped into?
Yeah, most organizations have data buried throughout the organization. The classic in silos. And in many cases, they're not even sure how much detail they have. Though the IT group themselves struggles with where's all my data. And the business people by this time have given up even trying to ask for it. That's probably the biggest challenge that the business users faces. In some cases, they've given up asking the questions.
Now, is that because just that which gave rise to shadow IT, just that the IT guys were just so busy, or the delivery was so slow, and they've just been frustrated by it? Or is it just that no one could really answer the question because no one's really thought about the data in that way before?
I actually think, Jeff, I think it's both. I think part of it is, building a classic data warehouse where you have to define your schema first and then load data into it has always been a long, labor-intensive process. And it's not unusual when somebody wants to add a new data source. The IT says, well, that'll be 6 to 9 months. Well, holy cow, the opportunity may be gone in 6 to 9 months. It may be gone in 6 to 9 days. So the traditional data warehouse approach of having to build that schema first and then try to retrofit data into it has really made it very hard for people to try to bring more data in. And so IT groups they're doing the best they can with the technology they had, but it's kind of like making a dog walk on its hind legs, right? It's impressive that they can make these damn things work, but I don't want that dog bringing my beer to me.
So one of the things you mentioned earlier was, again, going from a mindset of having basically as much raw data as you can versus having aggregated, summarized data for a short period of time because of the cost. Are people doing some type of ROI analysis to justify now collecting all that data? Are they putting that data in a less expensive place? How are they managing the business expense on the front end of that process to then eventually unload the insights of the back?
Well, so what I think is the most interesting thing about big data is the economics of big data. That the cost to store, manage, and analyze data is 20 to 50x cheaper today than it was even 2 years ago. I have a friend—
20 to 50x in 2 years.
Let me give you an example. I have a friend who's a senior vice president of analytics at Travelers Life Insurance in Hartford. He did an analysis, and he shared the analysis with me. He said, for the same 4 terabytes of cost that it cost me for data on an enterprise data warehouse, 4 terabytes, I can get 200 terabytes on Hadoop. When you have that 50x magnitude of change, it can enable you to think differently about how you treat data. It's like data doesn't become a cost to be avoided. Data becomes an asset to be hoarded and gathered and harvested. So there has to be that kind of mental shift, and the economics are allowing us to make that mental shift.
And how much of it's economics, how much of it's competitive pressure from other companies within the same realm, or has that really gotten enough traction yet?
I don't think there's as much competitive pressure as much as there is a person in the organization who has this feeling, I don't even say a vision, has a feeling that we could do more with our data, that we have this data, we've been spending all these years collecting it, and we're just not getting great value out of it. And many times that's somebody in the CIO's organization is saying, God, for the longest time we've been getting whipped up on, we have all this data, it's time for us now to be in a leadership position, become a strategic business partner and help our business cohorts to leverage that data to get more value out of it. So I don't think it's competitive as much as it's somebody in the organization who's starting to realize, wow, we can do something different.
Right, and we talk a lot about CIOs starting to take more of a business role in the organization, not just maintainers of what was in the past, but really thinking about adding value beyond that maintenance role and bringing strategic vision and execution and competitive leverage. So do you think big data is one of the the better ways for them to take on that additional responsibility?
It's the perfect opportunity for CIOs who are willing to step outside their normal roles and who aren't afraid to fail and to step forward and say, we can help lead this initiative. Now they got to have somebody in the business who's willing to walk arm in arm with them. And in most cases, a business wants this, is dying for it. They just want somebody on the CIO side to say, I'm all in on this thing. We're going to make it happen. And can build that collaboration between those two groups that really makes the big data discussion not a technology discussion, but a business transformation discussion.
Great, so let's shift gears to the people side. So we've talked a little about the CIO side, but there's, it often comes up that there's a shortage of data scientists, and really to potentially unlock the real value of this, you need the guy who's not a data scientist that you give a little taste of something to, and he goes, if we could do this, can we do that? So what do you see in terms of trends of not data scientists being able to execute new things with big data, gain insight?
So the tools today that are available for data scientists are really still fairly specialized. And it's not like the average person is going to be able to pick up and write Python MapReduce onto a Hadoop environment. It's just not there. And the people who have been trained in BI for a long time have had to sit on the sidelines, but now we're seeing things like Hawk that allow people to write SQL and get at data and store it on an HDFS structure. So we're slowly starting to bring in, because of the technology, the SQL people who can issue queries. However, the data scientists and the ability to be curious, to bring in data sources, to write these Python and Ruby on Rails and Java code that brings data in and literally is building the schema on query, that's still a very rare breed. The tools haven't helped that role yet. No, but education has. EMC has an education program where we're training people. We're working closely with a number of different universities to share curriculums. We see opportunity to create more data scientists. And if we're smart, we tell our kids to become data scientists because they'll have jobs forever.
Yes, they will for sure. So that's interesting. So we're here at EMC World 2014. What do you think we're going to be talking about a year from now? What do you think is the next big kind of move?
So I think first off, the data lake discussion is going to become not a preliminary discussion about, I wonder if we should do that. We're going to see company after company who've already jumped into the lake.
It's a lake or ocean? This is a big argument that Furrier hates that lake.
Of course he does.
Ocean. It's an ocean.
Well, I just wrote a blog about the data lake, and I titled it something like How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Learn to Love the Data Lake, kind of a takeoff on Dr. Strangelove. And I actually, after talking to a lot of different customers, I actually think the data lake is going to be a great enabler. It's going through its overhyped status right now, but a year from now we're going to see a lot of different organizations who have implemented a data lake and are running not only their analytics on top of that, but in some cases have actually moved some of their data warehouse capabilities to that as well. So I think the data lake is going to be a very big enabler. I think next year you're going to start hearing a lot more about the third platform as a delivery vehicle for the insights I'm teasing out of my data lake. The third platform, being able to deliver insights to my frontline employees so they're more effective in working with customers. They're more effective in the stores or underneath the mechanic in the shop. I think we're going to see the third platform take on a growing role. By the way, not only the third platform, but the role of a user experience person. I think we're going to start seeing more discussion next year about the importance of that role.
Awesome. And just before we close, I want you to give a little plug for the book. So Bill wrote the book. Like I say, not only is the dean of big data, he wrote the book on big data. So I think they're giving away a few copies here at the show. You can get it on Amazon. But I think the story of why you wrote the book is interesting, and I wonder if you can just kind of run us through that real quickly.
So, well, the book was, EMC wanted me to write a book on big data, and got me in touch with Wiley, and so Wiley kind of, they made things easier. I had a blog. But the real impetus for doing the book was I was sitting around the kitchen table with my kids and my wife, and I was telling us, I said, I was thinking about writing this book, but it's a lot of work, and I talked to my friend Ralph Kimball, and Ralph says, you don't make any money writing a book, and so I said, I don't really do it for financial gain, and I think it was Amelia who said, geez, Dad, why don't you donate the money to charity? I was like, well, which one, Amelia? And she goes, well, Grandma died from breast cancer, why don't you donate it to breast cancer research? So. The proceeds from the book I donate to breast cancer research to give back.
Good cause.
I've always believed in, I've been very lucky. right? My whole career has been full of forced gut moments where I've been at the right time, at the right place, where people have freely shared with me and given me opportunities. I just want to give opportunities back.
Awesome. So Bill, thanks for coming on theCUBE as always.
Thanks, Jeff.
You know, we go out to the events, we extract the signal from the noise, and as we say, we get the smartest people in the room we can find. We invite them on theCUBE, we ask them the questions you'd like to ask them. So Bill Schmarzo, thanks for coming on. We're at EMC World 2014, day 3 of wall-to-wall coverage on theCUBE, not 1 but 2, so we can give you double the pleasure, double the insight. Guys like Bill coming on. So we will be back with our next segment after this short break.